find your passion, it ignites you as a person. You just feel awesome. You are a coach of my future opponent. You're welcome. You can send a check in the mail. Here's my Venmo. I pretty much did all the work for you. Hey, what is going on? To those of you who are the real ones who have subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. It's so good to see you again. So today, here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to be commenting the last fight that I had, and we are going to do it with the frame of, okay, if you are starting jiu-jitsu or you've been in jiu-jitsu for a couple of months and you're like learning these moves and you're thinking, how does this relate to self-defense? I'm going to commentate the highlights and also go over some of the key moves that are demonstrated in this fight that will save you in a self-defense situation, because there's nothing more valid than watching a fight and seeing jiu-jitsu with strikes involved, okay? So right here, here's just something that you need to keep in mind. Like, I've always harped in my other videos to like learn takedowns, and this is why. If you know a couple of takedowns or at least one and can execute, that puts you in the top position, and all you have to do is maintain top position after that and you're golden. If you don't know a good takedown, then you're just leaving it to chance that you're going to end up on top, and who wants to leave it to chance, right? So that's something to keep in mind during your jiu-jitsu training. Is usually we start on the knees, but try to ask your opponent or ask your training partners to start from standing. So there's another takedown, and here you can see me put my hooks in, meaning put my feet inside her legs and take her back and go for a rear naked choke. Now, what is the value of this? Okay, so the value of a rear naked choke and getting somebody's back is, if you're on somebody's back, if you just even know that, in all of jiu-jitsu, the highest value position you can be in is on somebody's back. And if you sink in a rear naked choke, meaning you're doing a carotid artery choke, that means that you're not doing a trachea choke. It's not a breath thing, it's a blood thing. That means there is if you get the choke and they pass out and they probably won't know how to defend it, you have just guaranteed yourself 100% that you will get out of a sticky situation. And I have a story for you, all right? So I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was 6 months in, and my roommate was like, oh yeah, you're doing jiu-jitsu? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you wanna have a go? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So we started wrestling. I got his back and sunk in a choke, and he was amazed afterwards. He's like, Crystal, I didn't even have a plan. And that's the thing, most people out there don't even have a plan. If you're looking for jiu-jitsu for self-defense, just knowing, okay, I need to get to that person's back and I need to get in a rear naked choke, you are leaps and bounds beyond anybody else. So that is like the number one thing. If you're looking towards jiu-jitsu for self-defense and you're a beginner, just think, take the back and rear naked choke, get to their back. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't even have to be technical, okay? You can just be scrappy. So right here, Sam is doing a very good job of defending the rear naked choke. She's keeping her chin down, which prevents me from sinking my arm in to make contact with the sides of her neck where her carotid arteries are. So you see the choke comes right here. So you have a bicep against this side, and you have your forearm against this side, and that's what causes the person to pass out. So here you can see I'm trapping the arm. If you're ever on the bottom of mount, you want to make sure that you are, this is actually an extra technique that so if you're ever on the bottom of mount and somebody's punching your face, what you need to do in order for them to not punch your face anymore is bridge. That way they're using their arms to brace themselves instead of hitting your face. In this case, I was already like really low to the ground anyway because I'm experienced. Chances are if you're getting into a self-defense situation with somebody on the street, like they probably won't have 5 years of training under their belt. All right, this is a good part coming out. So watch this. She's gonna low kick. She's gonna set up with a lazy low kick. It's coming right there. Boom! She broke her arm on my head. Right there. Boom! Coming. Right there. Boom! Coming. Right there. Boom! Boom! She broke her arm on my head. Okay? Okay? Like that right there, like that is also why choking has a higher value than striking, because if you're, as humans, our bones are weak compared to other materials, okay? So it's very easy to break hands, to break bones. So when we typically untrained people, when we think of a fight, we usually think of like fists first, but fists and arms break very easily, especially if you're fighting on concrete. So a choke has a higher value because it is more guaranteed to work, meaning that the person will pass out, and also you have less of a risk of breaking something because you're not trying to strike. All right, she's doing, okay, so here's another, she's doing a very good job right here. This for self-defense. When you have a closed guard, this is a closed guard safety position. Do you see how she's holding my head close right there? And she's holding my arm to prevent the strikes. This is a closed guard safety position. This is something that you should know for self-defense, exactly what she's doing right here. Do you see how she's making it difficult for my head to get up? That's because if more space is created, that force equals mass times distance, right? Mass times acceleration, and acceleration is determined by distance. So do you see how I step up right here? I'm trying to create more distance for more impactful striking, for more forceful striking. So that right there was beautiful. So you see she's doing a really good job of holding my head. Like in a self-defense situation, that's exactly what you need to be doing. But also in a self-defense situation, like you don't want to be on your back. Like if you do not want to be pulling guard, you do not want to be on your back. But if you happen to be there and you're getting strikes to your face, like this is what you need to be doing. But pulling guard is a no. So here, I'm basically trying to pass her guard. I'm trying to get in a better position. So I'm advancing my position. I'm currently on her back. I'm trying to get hooks, and I'm trying to go again for the rear naked choke. So in all of this, if there's any place that you want to be, it's on somebody's back. That is the highest value position in all of jiu-jitsu. There's one other thing too I want to point out. Let's go back to that beautiful strike. Oh my God, that was so good. That setup. So what's coming? All right, now, the setup was beautiful and I stepped into it. Now stepping into it caused me to my head was like right in this position. Had I been not as fast, it would have struck me right where her fist was, and that wouldn't have broke her arm, and that probably would have instilled more damage. But here's the third self-defense technique that you need to learn and practice as a beginner and even as you advance. And this is something that I did incorrectly. So let's watch that strike one more time. Watch how I get up when I'm on the ground. She sets it up, boom. Oh, I didn't do too bad. So the next thing that you should learn is the technical stand-up. So the technical stand-up is a way of getting up from the ground and covering your head, because if you're ever in a self-defense situation where you do hit the ground and you need to get up in a way to prevent you getting kicked in the face. So I kind of like, there's a more technical way of getting up in my defense. I was trying to go for a throw there that was not pulling guard. Set the record straight. All right, so here I'm trying to turn myself over to go for a single leg to drive up and to get the double. So those are some not self-defense related as much, but still fun to watch. She's going for a guillotine here. I'm trying to rip my head out. All right, so let's fast forward to the last technique. Actually, there's two more. So this is the beginning of the third round. After that strike, after I was seeing little birdies, and this was my game plan going in, okay? This is also a technique, a self-defense technique. I'm about to do it right now. All right, this is called a dive and clinch, what I just did. So you put your hands up, right? And you dive in. So you turtle, dive, and clinch, because there are two safe places in a fight. Too close or too far, meaning too far, you're outside their striking range, or too close, you have contact and they don't have as much distance to strike you. Of course, after getting knocked to the ground, I was like, I need to be too close, because we're not gonna get struck like that again. And that's very scary. Like, if you imagine yourself in a self-defense situation, it's like you have two options, especially if they're trying to hit you. You can run away, which is obviously too far, or run towards it. And as a human being, running full force towards something that you may be possibly afraid of, like, can sound daunting. I remember thinking about it when I first started jiu-jitsu, but that's where you need to be. That is a safe spot, is too close, meaning you are right on them in a clinch. So here's one of the last things that's super important to learn as a beginner for self-defense, and that is a bridge and roll. So a bridge and roll occurs, so do you see how Sam's on the bottom and she's trying to bridge and roll me over? When you are mounted, like, the bridge and roll is super, super important. And of course, she's going against somebody who has defended bridge and rolls before, but if you're trying to do this to somebody who has never done jiu-jitsu before, like, it's gonna be a little easier than the time that she's having with me. So one thing that would also help her in this situation is, do you see how she has her hands around my torso like this and kind of like a bear hug? If she would trap one of my arms and get her hands on the inside, she could then trap my far leg, but I'm kind of like high for that. She could still trap it, and she could use her elbow to then bridge and roll, and that elbow on the inside, when you have it across your opponent's hips like that, gives you the extra torque and leverage to help them get them off of you. So right now, if she were to swim her hands in and trap one of my arms and then trap my leg, the reason why you want to trap their leg is because when you go to bridge and roll, they will post this leg out, which then acts as like, as like a kickstand, as a post. So you want to make sure you are clamped onto that kickstand with your leg. That way, when you trap their arm, because the arm that you're trapping, that same side is the side you want to go on, because they can also post with that hand as well. So you want to trap their two things they can post with, that same side leg and that same side arm. So like sometimes if you're on the bottom of mount and strikes are coming, like it seems safer to kind of just like hug them, but that little extra torque that you can get with your like hand on the inside and your arm on the inside and using your forearm as leverage to help the bridge and roll is chef's kiss. So yeah, that was some of the commentary. So yeah, like one huge thing to keep in mind is, you know, distance management. And sometimes when we take jiu-jitsu, you know, we don't always start rounds on our feet. But I definitely encourage you, like the next time you're starting a round, to ask your training partner, hey, can we start from standing? If you are a beginner, just make sure you know how to do break falls. I did a video on break falls specifically because of this. So make sure that you you know how to do break falls, and B, you know, you're very aware of your opponent or your training partner's like knees, and you don't want to hurt your training partner. Okay, so when I say beginner, if you have like 6 months of experience, you know, maybe start playing with this. But if you're an absolute newbie, like you have to make sure that you know how to fall, because so many people have hurt themselves by falling. So you definitely do not want to be injured. So thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. But this is, I mean, if I was a beginner seeing this, this is super helpful, because this is like, oh, like this is when it would come into play. Like if somebody broke into my house and had me mounted and was trying to strike my face, like that's why we learn bridge and rolls. And sometimes, you know, when you first start jiu-jitsu, you get caught up in like the sexiness of like, ooh, submissions and like, ooh, but it's like the bread and butter things, you know, the things that you're probably taught at the beginning are taught for a reason, because the attrition rate of jiu-jitsu is ridiculous. So many people quit. So my first coach actually designed his curriculum with all of these like self-defense techniques at the beginning, because he's like, if I have somebody coming in here and they're only going to be here for 6 months, I want to teach them things and have them learn things that would be super useful to them in a self-defense situation. And what you saw me use during this fight was exactly what he taught me. Turtle dive and clinch, probably the #1 thing, you know what I mean? Knowing how to have a safety position from the bottom of guard, knowing that the bottom of closed guard is not where you want to be, knowing where you want to be is on that person's back, sinking in a rear naked choke, because how are they gonna strike you if you're on their back? Like that's, you know what I mean? It's not gonna happen. Oh my God, I'm starting to sweat. All right, so yeah, if you are a coach of my future opponent, you're welcome. You can send a check in the mail. Here's my Venmo. I pretty much did all the work for you. All right, until next time.